Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sophia, and today we are going to talk about how to get started in USPSA. USPSA stands for the United States Practical Shooting Association, and it is the governing body for the United States version of the International Practical Shooting Confederation, or IPSC. It's essentially a shooting sport that combines speed, accuracy, and quick decision-making skills. I ultimately got started with USPSA to become a more proficient shooter and just to be more comfortable with firearms in general. Before we get into how to get started officially, let's talk about who USPSA is for. Other than the incredible shooters out there that have mastered the sport, USPSA is also for the beginner shooter or anyone like me who is just wanting to become better at handling their firearm. You may see videos online of these professional shooters running and gunning just so fast, and you may feel like this is something out of your reach, but I assure you, if I could do it, you absolutely can too. I remember Justine Williams came on my podcast when I first started bringing on competitive shooters, and she was one of the first people to tell me that USPSA is for anyone who is interested, and I just kind of started running with it from there, pun intended. Two reasons I feel like people don't get started right away in USPSA is because of the financial commitment and the idea that you can't do it unless you are already good at shooting. The financial commitment is real between the guns, the magazines, the ammo, the match fees, the travel fees. I mean, it really all does add up, but it is something that you can budget and plan over time to make sure that you have your chance. The second, like I said, is that fallacy that you have to already be a great shooter to compete, and that's just not true. Let's go ahead and dive into those steps when it comes to getting started with USPSA. The first thing I recommend you do is go and observe a match. If you've already done this, you can skip forward, but if you have yet to ever go to a match and you've just seen videos online, I highly recommend you find someone in the community to go and shadow throughout the match so that you can actually see it firsthand. Before I ever shot a match, I went and observed Lisa at one of her USPSA matches, so this gave me the opportunity to kind of trail behind her and watch not only her shoot, but watch what she did in between stages when it comes to mental prep, reloading, and of course pasting targets, so that by the time I went to my first match, I felt much more prepared. At that match, you can start working on a list of the materials that you will need. I also have a video of what is in my competition range bag and my general range bag, which I will link in the description if you have yet to watch that, and that will give you a good idea of some things you may want to have on you at your first competition shooting match. Now that you kind of have an idea of what USPSA is and you've decided that you want to take that next step, you want to invest financially, you will go on to practicescore.com and make an account. Making an account on PracticeScore is completely free, and it will allow you to see what matches are around you locally. Once you can find a match local to you, you're able to see what level of match it is, and you can see who else is signed up, as well as squad with people, and let the match director know that it will be your first match. Once you make a USPSA account and you copy and paste that number into your PracticeScore account whenever you sign up for a match, you will begin as an unclassified shooter or as a U. There are also several divisions and categories that cater to the type of firearm and modifications done to that firearms that you will need to select for yourself when signing up for a match. So for example, because I have a red dot on my Walther PDP steel frame compact, I am in the carry optics division. Once you select all of the criteria that describe you when you sign up for the match, you will then need to select a squad. A squad is a group of people, and of course the number depends on how many people have signed up or typically sign up for that match. So you will be put with a group of people to move from stage to stage with during the entire match. When you attend the one match, there will be about 6 to 8 stages at that match that you will walk to and from with your squad. One of those stages usually is a classifier stage, and that is the one stage that will determine your classification. Once you shoot 4 classifier stages, an average will be taken from those 4 stages and you will receive your first classification. Otherwise, the average of your best 4 classifier stages out of 6 will be used to determine your classification. Let's go ahead and go back to the night before your first match. Just like the night before a school day, you will need to pack your range bag with everything you need, from ammo to ear and eye protection to, of course, your firearm. I will have a list you can use to cheat in order to make sure you have everything you need for your very first match. What I like to do is have a page in my notes section of my phone so that I can slowly click on the things that I have added to my range bag to ensure that I don't forget a single thing. Once you arrive, you will need to go check in with the match director or anyone helping him or her to pay your match fee, which can cost anywhere from $15 to $25, and it may even be free for your first match depending on where you go. Once you get to the match director, be sure to inform them that this is your first match. Even if you emailed them or even didn't email them before, tell them that so they can make sure to put you with someone that is willing to help you through your first match. Next, you will want to go and gear up. So what you'll do is put on your belt, but of course only handle your firearms in designated safe areas. If you show up with your concealed carry pistol, that's totally fine. You can switch it out for your competition shooting pistol. Just be sure not to handle ammo in the safe areas. When in doubt, ask. Don't be afraid to ask any of the members or even the match director there to help them assist you on what to do to ensure that you don't get disqualified or DQ'd. Before the competition ever starts, there will be a pre-shooting chat wherein the match director will call everyone together and give stage assignments to each of the squad. For example, if you are in squad 3, you may start at stage 5 and then loop around to stage 6 and then start back at 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that way you shoot all stages that day. This will also be an opportunity for the match director to give a safety briefing along with any other necessary announcements. As you are walking over to the stage you've been assigned to, I highly recommend introducing yourself to your squad mates to let them know that you are new to the sport so that they can get your name and know that you are good to be helped in case they see anything going wrong. Just know that every single person you speak to there had their very first match and they had people helping them as well. So when you go in for your first, you are not alone. Once you arrive to your first stage, you will want to look over the stage plan in order to learn about the round count, about the location of all of the targets, as well as get a good idea of where you might want to start. Once you see this, you can walk up to the stage and start looking around to see which targets are available to you first, which targets you can only take from one position, and so on. I personally like to follow the most experienced shooter in that match and in that stage with me so that I can get a good idea of what they're thinking. Of course, with a difference in skill level, you will want to accommodate and make some changes for the way you might run your stage compared to that person at the same time. The best thing you can do is ask them if they are willing to explain what they're thinking as you walk through so that you can start adopting that mentality for yourself. This process can be super overwhelming, so if you're willing to get to the match an hour or even an hour and a half early, you can do so to walk through the stages before the match ever starts. That way, it'll just be a refresher course by the time you arrive at that stage. Once you determine your stage plan, you will mentally rehearse this, and if you want, you can even kind of hold your hands up and close your eyes and try to picture the targets of where you're going before you ever get to your turn at that stage. The RO will make it clear as to whose turn it is by using a few range commands. These range commands include so-and-so is our shooter, so-and-so is in the hole, and another person is in the deep hole. This basically just tells you who is actively shooting, who will shoot next, and then who will shoot after that person. It is extremely helpful to learn the name of the person who goes before you so that you don't miss your turn. When you step up to have your turn, of course, you will want to make sure your feet are in the proper orientation. For example, it might say toes on line, heels on line, facing opposite direction. So make sure you do that first. And then the RO will give you a chance to make ready by saying make ready. This just means that you will load a mag into your pistol and then you will rack the slide to chamber around. So they'll say make ready, and then once they see that you stopped moving, maybe you're looking around and kind of mentally rehearsing in that moment, they'll say shooter ready. And to this, you can either nod, you can say yes, or you can simply not do anything and stay still. Once they see that you're ready, they will give you an audio cue by using the shot timer. It's going to sound like a loud beep that you will be able to hear through your hearing protection, and then of course you are good to start the stage. The goal of your first match should just be not to DQ. In other words, make sure that you are keeping your muzzle away from the 180, which is the line that determines where people are behind that particular stage. And then other things like making sure you're not handling ammo in your firearm when you aren't shooting, and of course maintaining all of the other rules and regulations that I will put in a link in the description for you to review. Once you finish shooting, the RO will step in and say, if finished, unload, show clear. So if you are finished shooting, because sometimes, you might have forgotten a target and then you want to go and shoot that before you stop your round. You will unload the magazine. You can either put it in a pocket or you can dump it on the ground and pick it up afterwards. I just don't recommend that you put it back in your magazine holder because some people forget to reload their magazines after this. So unload the mag, and then you will show clear by racking the slide. If there is a round in the chamber, of course, that round will eject. And then you need to visually inspect the chamber to make sure there's nothing in there. And then to hammer down and holster, which is the next command, you will point your firearm at the berm. You will pull the trigger. Of course, you should not hear it go off because it should be empty. And then you will holster. So again, that's if finished, unload, show clear, if clear, hammer down, and holster. And of course, at your first match, they will walk you through this step by step, so just let the RO take you through it. Now let's talk about what you are supposed to do between shooters. So between shooters, it is customary to help paste the targets. Of course, because we don't replace each USPSA target, we use something called pasters, which are either just brown tape or actual pasters from the name brand. After someone shoots, you will go up to the targets and help paste. And the only thing to be certain of is that you do not paste it before the RO is able to take the score for that particular target. The possible scores you can receive on a target include the alpha zone or the A zone, which can be either in the head box or this center of body. You then have a Charlie and a Delta location, and then if you completely miss the target, that is called a Mike. So you have an Alpha, Charlie, Delta, and Mike as an option when you are scoring the target. So say someone shoots one here and then here, that would be one Alpha, one Charlie. Say you go up to a target and you see that it has barely just broken that line, that will still indicate the highest score. So if someone shoots the line between the Alpha and the Charlie, that would be considered an Alpha. If you're unsure though, I would call the RO over and have them inspect it so that you don't get that wrong for the shooter. The only two times you don't need to paste are either before you shoot and right after you shoot, because before you shoot, you should be kind of getting in the zone, mentally rehearsing, and then after you shoot, you should be focusing on reloading your mags. I highly recommend you ask one of these squad mates to film you shooting, and make sure you ask them to get a full body view of you shooting so that you can review your technique later. Even if you never post them onto social media, this is a great way to see your shooting technique and of course to have reference for how far you will go. After everyone in your squad has shot that stage, you will all move together to the next stage, and then at the very end of the match, after all shooters have completed their shooting, you will start to tear down. Some places don't require that you tear down. I just find that it is super helpful to the match directors and the people that are responsible for cleaning up afterwards. If you can just help tear down at least a few targets, help maybe drag some barrels, and just do simple things like that. Before I go into the last thing that you can expect when you go to your very first USPSA match, let's talk about gear. I highly recommend you check out my YouTube video, Touring My GPS Range Bag, because in that video, I take you through everything I have in my bag for a match. Today's video is sponsored by Walkers, so let's talk about some high quality hearing and eye protection to take with you to your first USPSA match. Right now, my favorite pair of hearing protection is the Walkers Fire Maxes because of their sustained battery life. I mean, I've yet to charge these after 2 months of range wear, as well as their ability to isolate sounds in your environment. For example, whenever you're shooting, it will take out the sounds of the shots and it will amplify the sounds of people talking. The ability to communicate on a range is a safety measure, so investing in a piece of gear that not only protects your hearing but protects your overall safety is imperative. In addition, Walkers carries eye protection. These are the teal impact glasses, and these are my favorite for overcast days or just days where it's not very bright outside. They are, of course, ballistically rated for shooting, and both of these will be linked in the description along with a code that will save you 20% at checkout. The last thing you can expect when you go shoot your first USPSA match is being able to view your scores on Practice Score. At the end of the match, of course, the RO and whoever else is involved with the scoring process will upload your scores to Practice Score so that you can review them promptly. Before you attend your first match, be sure to review the entire page of the USPSA rules and penalties to ensure that you are aware of everything going into your first match. I've linked this in the description along with a few other links to help you get started on your USPSA journey. Thanks so much for making it this far in the video. If this helped you, you can help out my channel by liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment for what you would like to see next. In the meantime, I'll see you in one of these videos.